and welcome to Fantasy Top 5.
My knee.
Oh, I think we both got injured before the game,
Yeah, we're hurt.
before the podcast.
We're hurt good.
Yeah, we may be out the whole season.
Yeah, it's going to be rough.
There's a lot of injuries, and we are a part of that. My stomach hurts. Sean, I think he bumped his knee when he was walking over here.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
And
I'm out for the
both
season.
out for the whole season.
I feel like I'm on the Ravens right now.
And a lot of other teams. There's
Yeah.
a lot of teams.
Tons injuries to talk about.
Yeah, my bruises it'll take up actually a full 2 hours of the podcast just
That's an
talking
hour.
about injuries.
Full 2 hours of the hour-long podcast.
Full 2 hours. Well, I'm gonna keep it going. And
Alright.
I'm sorry, Sean, but you can't actually talk about anything.
All right, well,
Once
speaking
my 2
of-
hours are done, then you
Uh-huh.
can go ahead and kind of do whatever it is you do over there.
All right, well, speaking
I'm
of a
just kidding.
podcast,
kidding.
this is our podcast.
I appreciate what you do here, Sean.
Yeah.
We are both equals, and we are both equally good hosts.
I don't
and we
know.
both have equally good material. Yours is actually probably better than mine. I'm not gonna lie.
This got really weird. We're Fantasy Top 5. I'm Sean,
I'm Eric.
and we're actually not really injured. We just...
Well, my stomach
Eric
does
let me
hurt.
run with this idea I had, and it turned out that I think it was actually pretty terrible. But
It was good. I enjoyed it. We thought of it last minute.
Yeah.
And Lane's over here producing. We are Fantasy Top 5. I still need to come up with some kind of something that we say right there.
Fantasy Top 5.
That's cool. Do that every time.
But
And yeah, we talk about fantasy news, and we answer your questions, and we do fantasy stuff.
yeah, so if you have questions, hit us up on Twitter at Fantasy Top 5. You can also go on our website, www.fantasytop5, and leave us a question there. You can also check out all of our material there. We have
Yes.
tons of stuff at this point because we've been doing it for a little while. So.
Yeah, well, I think we're finally starting to get the hang of it. We have a Tumblr. We also have an email as well, info@fantasytop5.com. We take all your questions. We answer them all, and we do a pretty good job of it. We're also live on Justin TV, justin.tv/fantasytop5 if you want to check out the show live. If not, you can download it in a podcast on iTunes and almost every single podcast application you can find we should be in. If not, you can grab our feed and throw it in there if you know how podcasting works.
Yeah, if you want to find us anywhere, it's just Fantasy Top 5. You type it in, you can
Type
find
it into
us.
Google, and we're on the front page. So find us there. Come search for us. Come check out what we do.
Yeah, we are
We-
stoked because this was actually a super crazy, ridiculous, injury-filled weekend full of actually a lot of surprises.
Yeah,
And
that's what that's what it should be. Your surprises and disappointments column is probably just.
Yeah, I couldn't decide
massive.
who to put in there. Like, it was ridiculous.
It was surprises and injuries. So all the waiver wire stuff, just you guys don't get it. Sorry,
Yeah.
we only got an hour here.
Yeah, speaking of that, let's just jump into Eric's injuries and newsies and bruisies. Sorry.
Yes, there we go. It is Newses and Bruises. It's the top 5 news stories and top 5 injury reports in the bruises section, which, yeah, it's a lot of injuries. So the first one, which has been officially confirmed, is Ray Lewis and Ladarius Webb are out for the whole season. Season-ending injuries. Ray Lewis tore his triceps, and Ladarius Webb tore his ACL, which is a huge, huge blow. The only good news is Suggs may start light practice this week, and Nata is expected to play as well.
But this is rough. 'Cause
Still not good news compared to...
Yeah, because anyone who's ever watched a Ravens game knows that a lot of what gets them going is all Ray Lewis on the sidelines doing his dance and everything. And it's hard to go like this and dance around when your triceps torn, I would expect. And
There is that. And then, yeah, I mean, and he will be. He'll be on the sidelines. He'll be there cheering everyone on like he always does. But it's kind of hard when you don't have the helmet and the pads and
Yeah.
everything else, and you're not out there with your team. You can only do so much from the sidelines. I mean,
And that's the thing
coaches
is Ray
do it, but-
Lewis right now, I feel like he's still a good player, but he's almost more of just a figure there now that they have that keeps them motivated, and he's a good leader on the team. He still tackles well, but he's not as quick as he was. He's not as physical as he was because he had to lose some weight to keep the edge speed-wise, I feel like.
mhm.
And this is terrible timing, too, because they go and they play the Texans this upcoming week, and
Mhm.
I think a lot of people expected that to be the AFC Championship game this year.
And I think it still could be.
And I completely disagree. I think their defense already looks terrible, it looks like their offense that looked like it took 2 steps forward is now taking 3 steps back.
They're 5-1.
Like, yeah, they're 5-1, but a lot of shit's worked out. They should have lost that game last night.
They have the best quarterback in the league.
Yeah, they do. No.
So there's that.
And that's the thing is, I don't want to just be negative on them, but it's just that's a huge blow on a defense that. And that's the thing is, none of those defenses. Everyone's like that division is full of defenses, and it's not. It's now the NFC West is that division, is that defensive division, and those Pittsburgh defense has been terrible.
That's the only nice thing is that division has been playing awful. So
yeah, and it's,
at least they have that going for them.
Yeah, and that's the thing is the Steelers managed to lose to the Titans, and the Bengals managed to lose to the Cleveland. So
which the Browns are in that. I mean,
the Browns looked good, and that's the thing too is that helps. Like everything has went their way, so they might still.
They won the game.
I think they're going to win that division still. I think they're going to make it to the playoffs. But this is big, like because they're a big Super Bowl favorite this year. I feel like, and I don't know if they are anymore. In my opinion,
I picked them, and that's the thing. I don't know if I see it anymore. Flacco would definitely have to step up. Ray Rice would have to really step up. I think all the wide receivers. I think luckily Torrey Smith has proven he's a legitimate wide receiver in this league, and so is Bolden. And it definitely is really nice having Jones. What is his name?
Huh? Oh, Jacoby Jones.
Jacoby Jones. Why could I not think
that
of that?
kickoff
He's one of my
return
favorite wide receivers, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden I blanked on his name.
And he has been the X factor, I think, for their offense this year. Like
I
a
love
lot of
him.
times, like fantasy, I wouldn't pick him up.
Couldn't remember his name
because
but I
he's
love
just
him.
so back and forth. But the little
Yeah.
things he does is insane.
Yeah, I mean, if he hadn't ran back that touchdown, they would have lost. I mean, he has at least one big play a game. It's kind of looked like that's really affected the outcome.
Because that's the thing is you don't see it in fantasy if he runs a kick almost back and doesn't get it, or like runs and gets it to the 30 every time. That's a big deal.
And some of those catches that he makes just look. And that's why I like players that kind of show off. And he's one of those players that he makes that big catch, and it's nice because it's nice to have that third receiver that you can count on, which they didn't have last year. But still, like you said, it's a huge blow. It's either one of those two going out is a huge blow, and to have both of them
in 1 week
in one game
crazy
is Ladarius Webb's an extremely good corner and kickoff returner as well. He returns kicks as well. So poor Ravens. We'll have to see how the next few weeks play out and how they play, but that's definitely the number one news story. Number two is Javid Best is not cleared to play this week, and they have no timetable, so it could be quite a while.
And he's been out a year with this concussion, so I think if he does return, like I haven't heard of too many stories. Like a concussion's different than most injuries. Like he gets hit in the head again, and he gets another concussion. I think his career's over. So I don't know about. And that's the thing is I don't hate Javid Best. I think the Lions could really use his help, but if he's still not cleared to play, it's been over a year since he had the injury. Like, I wouldn't count on him for anything, really.
Yeah. So as far as that, definitely fantasy news, because I think a lot of people were kind of, I don't know, and it does kind of affect all the other running backs on that team, although it doesn't look like Kevin Smith is doing anything either, so there's really only one running back now. And
LaShore actually had a sneaky good game on Sunday.
Yeah, he did. And then also along with that, I'm going to throw a few other injury news in there as well. Polamalu's out next week, Locker's out next week, and Murray is also out next week. And that's on top of all the other bruises I have coming up later. So my number 3 is Robert Griffin III and his 78-yard touchdown run. And not only that, but he is on pace to destroy Cam Newton's rookie rushing record. Like, double it. Yeah. He's getting double the amount of rushing. I think he's getting like 60 to 70 yards a game, and Cam was averaging about 30. So over double, and I think he's exactly on pace for the touchdowns, which that was the big one. Cam Newton had 14 rushing touchdowns last year, and RG3 is on pace to meet that exactly and doubling his rushing yards, which is crazy. And
that's also with Griffin doing almost nothing in the last game because he had that concussion. So I think he's better than Cam, and I don't want to jump on that and be like, oh, I'm down on Cam, but everyone saw last year that Cam went down a lot at the second half of the season. People figured him out. He still got those rushing touchdowns at the one because their running back situation in Carolina is so bad. But RG3 doesn't have the RG3 literally did one of the most impressive quarterback runs I've ever seen to bring them so far ahead of. Crap, I'm blanking of the Vikings yesterday. He basically won the game, and that scramble he made for that long touchdown. That was insane, and he's great like that. Like he's a freaky fast quarterback. So I wouldn't expect him to go down this season. I think he'll end in the top 5 quarterbacks.
Yeah, unless anything happens to him, but
yeah,
hopefully it doesn't happen. My number 4 is the Seahawks score the final 14 points of the game to beat the Patriots. And the best part about it is afterwards, their cornerback, Sherman, tweets out a picture, which is a meme, of him in Brady's face with the caption of "You mad, bro?" which is a big meme thing online. But not only that, but I guess he was kind of up in Brady's face like the whole game. And Brady's like, at one point, he's like, "Talk to me after the game. We'll see who's the winner at the end of the game." And so that picture is from the very end of the game when Brady's just depressed and he's up in his face.
Awesome.
Hilarious. He, of course, did like everything that happens on Twitter and was immediately taken down because that's what they do. But the internet captures everything.
I'm actually kind of surprised with the Seahawks having him take it down because they seem like that's their image is they get in people's faces. And that's the thing is Brady again, and we've seen this, and Brady still got he had still a good fantasy value, but Brady was still the second best quarterback in that game, and that's to Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson stepped his ass up in that game. Like that was impressive. And
yeah, he looked really
Brady
good.
just was Brady.
Oh, nice. Lane got it up on the screen, except that one doesn't have the caption on it. But there's multiple ones. But it's
yeah,
just
I
funny
love
because
that.
Brady looks so depressed, and he's like right in his face.
Yeah.
So good.
That's the thing is Brady's competitive as hell, but that's his MO. If you hit Brady,
He will get sad.
Yeah, he will not respond well.
And you can see it. And I don't know, quarterbacks especially need to not do that. Cam Newton did that against the Giants a few weeks ago, and it's one of those things that's like, grow up, man up.
Yeah.
Like, and we've seen that from Tom Brady multiple times where he just, especially if he gets sacked at all or anything, he just starts to get down.
He's the only quarterback I've seen that does not try to get away from it. He'll do his sidestep, but if you're getting hit head on, he just drops.
He's got a pretty face. Can't mess that up.
Yeah, he's got a face mask in front of him. Man the hell up. Like you said, man up. But this actually is awesome because the Thursday night game, I was actually kind of like, I don't know if the Seahawks are a real thing. Now with the Seahawks winning and the 49ers losing on Sunday, that game's going to be insane. That's going to be the hardest hitting game I think ever played in the NFL. Like, it's going to be insane. 49ers against the Seahawks. Like, I am stoked for that game.
Yeah, that'll be a crazy game. All right, my number 5 news story. The 5th one I always like to kind of throw out something random and weird just for fun. But the 5th one is it was Brandon Whedon's birthday yesterday. And on the Browns program, they had him marked down as turning 129 years old. He actually turned 29, which is pretty old for, he's a rookie.
Yeah.
And the fact he's a 129-year-old rookie, I think that's an NFL record for the oldest rookie to start
And
in the
for
NFL.
being
129, that's old for a person.
For being over
Let alone a rookie
over
in
a
the
buck
NFL.
20, he looked good out there. He looked pretty solid.
Did. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know if he has some fountain of youth or something, but
Yeah, I don't know.
I would like to take it.
I
Brandon
think he's on
Whedon.
bath salts. I think is what I read. I don't know.
So yeah, I had to throw it in there. It's pretty good. So bruises we'll go through really quick. Kevin Cobb is my number 1 with the rib injury. He's going to have an MRI today. I checked right before we started this, and there still wasn't any news on it yet. We'll let you know on the Thursday
And
podcast.
it's rough because Cobb looked like he was finally taking a step forward, and him running yesterday, like, and you can ask Eric. Like I have been since they made the big trade to get Cobb and picked him up. I have been like, you got to be shitting me with this because I'm not a fan of Cobb.
Mm-hmm.
But he is putting it all out there, and I respect that. And
we
he's
both
not
kind of
making
started
bad
to come
decisions.
around.
Yeah, he's
to kind of liking him a little bit. I almost started him, and I wish I would have.
Yeah,
But I almost did. And even with that, he came out at the very end of the game, so it wasn't.
and
a
Skelton
huge
looked
deal,
horrible. So if
Yeah, he did.
I don't know if he's out, that could be rough for them.
I'm starting to like Cobb, so we'll have to see. Like, I'm surprised. I did not expect that to be my number 1 bruised, especially with all the different ones there were.
But also a little note, like me and Eric have said 1,000 times before, I feel like if Cobb realized that he has the best receiver in the league on his team.
And he did.
And he went to him.
Fitzgerald has had some good games.
Yeah,
Good
and that's the
fantasy
difference.
games.
He wasn't going to him as much last year, and then he started going to him, and all of a sudden he's okay out there.
And then that opens everything else up.
Yep.
And so then the other wide receivers and that's why there's people like Andre Roberts, right?
Is doing great.
Who's actually doing kind of well
Floyd
too.
is finally looking okay.
Yeah.
Which is
Michael
big because he
Floyd.
looked like hell the first few weeks. But their running game, I think the Cardinals are not going to end where they're at right now, up at the top of the division, just because they don't have any running game.
William Powell looked okay.
Yeah.
I played him. It wasn't great. The reason I played him is because Fitzgerald had said that in preseason he looked like the starting running back that team needs. And so
and maybe
that was why I
around.
started and played him. And he got 7.8 points for me. It wasn't an
Howling
awful.
is terrible.
Yeah, Howling's terrible. And so if you have William Powell, or you can pick him up.
And I
maybe
have
do it.
Murray, so I might
have
have
him
to
in
try
my-
to get someone. But we'll see.
I actually don't have him. There were a lot of pickups as well, but William Powell is a good one. So my number 2 is Trent Richardson. It looks like he's going to be playing next week, which is good because that was brutal. I really needed him.
Hardesty was solid, though.
Which is weird because he is
He's-
not.
Yeah, he's done terrible. But
'Cause he
the
backed up
Bengals
Hillis.
defense is one of the biggest disappointments of the year defensively for me. Like, because I thought they had a good defense. And they just let people do whatever they want to them.
Yeah, it's crazy. My number 3 is Patriots. Brandon Lloyd has a left shoulder injury. I cannot say shoulder for some reason. But he returned, and Brandon Bolden aggravated his knee, which is kind of a big deal because he's actually been getting a lot of touches and taking away from Ridley. So
It's big for Ridley owners.
yeah, which is nice because he did not have a very good game, and I needed him to as well. My number 4 is Powell. How do you say his name? Bilal?
Sure.
On the Jets. He dislocated his right shoulder, which is not good. So Sean Green ended up having a ridiculously stupid game. And so Powell owners weren't really... there was not really a whole lot you could do anyway, but it looks like he's going to be out for a little while. My number 5 is DeMarco Murray, like I talked about earlier. His x-rays were negative, but he does have slight ligament damage and will probably at least miss 1 week. And my number 6 is Brian Hartline, who had a complete 0. Thought I'd throw this out here. Kind of like the Julio Jones thing. It looks like he might have been hindered in the game by a quad injury and just couldn't get past the incredible Rams defense.
Yeah, Finnegan taught him what it's like to be covered by a real cornerback.
Yeah. And if you have some, and maybe he might even made up the quad injury things. Like, I got some type of injury. I couldn't, it's not that I couldn't run faster. I mean, I was good. I just had that injury.
Yeah.
So we'll kind of, Rams.
And Hartline's
Good corners.
It's one of those things. Hartline's been the big play guy. Best, I think, is still their main go-to guy there. But I wouldn't go and drop Hartline after this. Their offense is looking better and better, and
They really are.
yeah, and I think Hartline will still have some big games.
All right.
All right, cool. Let's move over to my surprises and disappointments. The number 1 surprise of the week, Eric kind of hit on a little bit, which is Sean Green, who has
We'll
been
talk about him a lot.
atrocious. Like, he has been awful. And he had 161 yards in this game and 3 touchdowns. And he got 34 fantasy points. 34. He's had 30 the whole season up to this point, and he got 34.
I didn't know why they were playing him, and I
And-
still...
And that's the thing is I've been the same way. I thought Powell was going to play, and now Powell's hurt, and they've looked like they're going to stick with Green anyways.
I like McKnight.
And here's the
That
thing:
guy's a stud.
is Rex Ryan. I've always been a Rex Ryan guy. I love his attitude. I love the fact that he will go and tell reporters how it really is. He'll talk shit. He gets his team going, and he goes out there and he is using Tebow exactly how you should use Tebow. Tebow now is the reason no one will know what to do when the Jets go and try to punt the ball, because
So awesome.
2 games in a row they've had a huge first down on a fake punt because
You can't
Tebow's
do
in there and
anything if
Tebow
he's
ran
in
it
there,
and then
yeah.
Tebow passed it last game. And just like I've said, you go out, they get the running game going, and then Sanchez looks like old Sanchez. You can't just go out there with no receivers that are legitimate. He has some guys that are up and coming, but no legitimate receivers, and be like, oh, it's his fault that they're not doing anything. Sanchez looked awesome in this game. He finally has Keller back, and with the with the Patriots doing as bad as as on and off as they've been, like if it's a really easy defense, oh my God, Brady gets 1,000 points. Imagine that. If it's a good defense, he falls apart. He's fallen apart to the Seahawks and the Cardinals now, just because they have great defenses. And he still plays the 49ers in that division and the Rams, right? Or did he already play the Rams?
I'm not sure. No, I haven't played the Rams yet.
But I think they play everyone in that division. So they have 2 more hard defenses to go against. The Rams have been no slouch. If they can get their offense going a little bit more, he might have 2 more losses and just lose to all the people in that division. And but what I was saying was this was about Sean Green. but I'm just fired up because the Jets are so awesome to watch, and I love it when they get stuff going, and that's what they've done now. But Sean Green, he's Sean Green. This is literally what he does. Every single year, he has 4 games that are insane, and the rest of the time it's like, why the hell do I have Sean Green on my team? Why the hell do I have Sean Green on my team? Put him on your bench, and he scores 30 points.
So just wait. He's my number 1 put down, which you would think put down after that kind of game. Just wait. We'll go over that. We'll go over that a little bit later. I'll enlighten everyone.
But I have to always be Sean about this and kind of
Sean Green?
Yeah, Sean Green. He does have my same name. I think that's good.
Except he spells it really weird.
Well, yeah.
Seanan,
yeah. And then, but the positives for Green is that the Jets look like they're going back to rushing it a lot. So he may still have some good games, but this game was this great because the Colts defense let him run all over them. And that's the thing is, if you let someone run all over them, they're going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, but yeah, the Jets are back, which I like, and Sean Green is not back. So don't get any more confidence in him because if he does this 5 games in a row, then maybe.
Exactly.
All right, my second surprise of the week is Josh Freeman of the Buccaneers. Had his best fantasy day this season. He had almost 25 points. He threw for 328 yards and 3 touchdowns. And he did have 1 interception, but other than that, they just looked outstanding out there. Like, it was ridiculous. V-Jack caught 2 touchdowns. Yeah. Williams caught a touchdown. And they look great.
Which is what
Doug
I wanted
Martin
to see
bounced back. He looked pretty solid.
Even Blunt had a touchdown.
Yeah, and that's the thing is they're using both their running backs. Their V-Jack is making Mike Williams so good. Mike Williams being on the second best cornerback in all these games, he looks insane out there. Like, it's awesome.
And that's what you said at the beginning of the year.
Because I love Mike Williams. I love the guy. And V-Jack looks like he may not be old V-Jack because I am excited today. My God. I'm just going. But V-Jack has had a few good games in a row, and that's not V-Jack. Like, well, maybe not in a row, but he's had, what did he had 4 good games, and there's been 6 that they've only played 5. I think he's had 4 good games, and that's not V-Jack. V-Jack has 5-6 good games a year, and then the rest are really inconsistent.
Yep.
So it looks like but this is the thing, is they have done this. They've went, we look insane to we look awful to we look insane to we look awful. So I'm just hoping they stay up because the Buccaneers, I think, are a better team than people give them credit for. And
who do they play next week?
And that's the thing is, if they can keep this going, then Freeman could easily turn into a good fantasy option, which I think is awesome.
So yeah,
that'll be a good game, I think.
If you have V-Jack and Mike Williams, I think Doug Martin's pretty much a starter at this point.
Yeah,
you can go ahead and play him. The Saints do not have a good defense, so
yeah, and that could easily turn into a shootout because the Saints do have a great offense. So
yeah, they do.
That should be an exciting game. All right, and my third surprise of the week is Josh Gordon, who had another good game against the Bengals. And Gordon, he isn't getting a ton of catches, but he's getting at least 1 long touchdown catch a game, and at least in the last 2 games. And he is getting a few targets. And with Whedon's got an arm on him.
Yeah, he does.
And so
he's 129 years old. I mean, he's had a lot of practice.
Yeah, well, he got drafted by the Yankees or the Braves.
Yeah, that's what they were talking about. Yeah, he's used to be a baseball player.
Yeah, and so I guess that's why he can throw it so well. But he's insane. Like, he's not insane.
They should give him a baseball.
Yeah.
Let him just. It's like, well, you've played baseball before. We'll go ahead and let you.
All his receivers have mitts.
That would be crazy.
But
I would watch that.
But yeah, I don't love Gordon, but I feel like I throw this in there because if in 3 games from now he's caught another long touchdown in each one of the games, which it looks like Whedon will go to him, then he's all of a sudden a great fantasy option.
Yeah, he is.
He's like Deshaun Jackson a couple years ago. Like he can get that big play. Deshaun Jackson, I say a couple years ago because Deshaun Jackson's gotten worse, but Deshaun has gotten a lot better, and he's more of a possession guy now. But but Josh Gordon can make that big play. So if you are looking for someone in receivers, maybe take a look at Gordon.
I will talk about him later as well.
All right, and then my fourth surprise of the week is Felix Jones, who not a Felix Jones guy. I love the fact that they went to Murray, but Jones looked great in this game, and that kind of
and he's going to be starting next week. It looks like so.
Yeah, and that and he's a guy you might want to look into picking up, especially if you have Murray.
Who do they play?
I don't remember, but
the Panthers.
The Panthers defense. I've talked about the Panthers defense.
They sometimes do really good though. Panthers defense is weird because they look awful at times and good at times, but for the most part, they're an awful defense.
Yeah, and I think Felix Jones, I don't know. I think he's a guy. He's definitely a great option out there right now for what's out there. If you're in any kind of deep leagues, there's been so many injuries and so many guys that have been such big letdowns that if you can get him, get him. And if Murray's injury keeps him out a few weeks, I think Felix Jones is a solid fantasy option because if you watch that game, the Cowboys came out and they ran and they ran and they ran, and it helped their passing game so much. And I think that's the issue. I have Murray, and Murray had a solid game finally until he got hurt. But the fact that they're running, all of a sudden Romo's not having all these mistakes. Like it's that thing. You have to be able to run a little bit for your quarterback to do good. All right, and then my fifth surprise of the week is Russell Wilson, who he didn't go in and have his defense win the game for him. Like his defense helped a ton against the Patriots, but he went in there and he brought them back. They were down 13 with 10 minutes left to go.
Yeah, and scored the final 14 points.
And looked great. And on a couple of those, he would run and he'd run around and he'd just get away from guys.
There's one there that was just epic. I think they said it was 13 seconds. I mean, he literally just kept running around. He dodged 2 or 3 tackles, and I think he ended up gaining like 4 or 5 yards on the play. It was incredible. Go find that and watch it.
Yeah, and I've been waiting for him to get going, and this game he looked great. And they ended up winning 24-23, and like I said, they looked awesome out there. And Wilson, I'm hoping this is the game that puts him on track. I loved him in the preseason.
Yeah, you did.
He hasn't been exciting or explosive or anything in the regular season so far, but I really think this helps him get on track. All right, and now moving to the sad portion, the disappointments.
Man,
and
don't even do it. I don't want to get depressed.
And I'm
all happy right now.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I have to because there was some big disappointments this week. Like
we got to talk about these.
Yeah, and the first one was a guy that me and Eric literally ranted about last week because he looked so good against the Packers, and then Andrew Luck came out and he just didn't look good at all this week. And the Jets defense is banged up, but Cromartie looks like he is ready to be that number one guy with Revis out, and he did well. And actually, if you watched that game, Revis was up in the booth with a camera helping him record something.
Yeah, I saw that.
So I don't know. Revis is staying busy while he's injured. And but yeah, Luck came out. He threw 2 interceptions. He had no touchdowns. He didn't get 300 yards. And this is the thing, is every game he's improved, and then he came in there, and I don't know if he didn't take him serious or something like that, but he just looked awful. And really the whole team looked awful besides, because we already talked about how bad the defense did. The only person who was still pretty good was Reggie Wayne. Reggie Wayne still almost got 100 yards receiving. And other than that, the whole team looked awful.
Yeah.
And then
which a lot of people were really excited for Ballard.
Yeah, give it a second. Give it a second. Because I'm going to talk about it.
Oh, okay.
But
I was like, whoa, what's happening?
But
okay.
Sorry, we're all over the place now. But my second disappointment was the 49ers offense, who looked awful. Like, they looked terrible against the Giants. And last week...
I'm glad you talked about this, because I want to put it in my news, and I assumed you would talk about it.
Yeah, and last week they just looked awful. And then this week they got a total of 3 points. Like, Alex Smith threw 3 interceptions, and the team ran for less than 100 total yards. And the Giants just went in there and they're like, I know a lot of people think that the refs blew it and that's why we went to the Super Bowl last year. And I think they proved the point that, like, we're not this terrible team that the 49ers can walk all over. And, yeah.
Yeah,
and
it
they
makes you wonder.
took care of it.
Yeah, the week they had last week where breaking records and then come out and do this. It's like, yeah, they definitely do not look like that team that's going to win the Super Bowl. It just does not look like that's going to happen. So
Yeah, and that's
kind
the
of
thing.
crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I did not expect that at all.
Yeah, and the Giants are a good team, and they had Knicks back, which helped Cruz out, I think, a bit. But they looked very, very beatable, obviously, in this game. So they got their asses handed to them. But going forward, I don't know what this does. Besides, like I said, makes the Thursday game against the Seahawks a lot more interesting.
Yeah, it does.
All right, and in my third disappointment of the week was a guy Eric brought up just a minute ago, Vic Ballard, who everyone was running to the waiver wire to pick up.
So many
Ballard.
questions.
Yeah, we got so many questions
Should I
about
start
him.
Vic Ballard over?
Over Arian Foster? Not
Yeah.
really, but over a lot of legitimate guys.
Yeah, I was like, no.
Oh,
no,
including
no.
Bradshaw, which I told a couple people they could take a chance on him, and that's my bad. Bradshaw, I don't know what the hell happened there, but Bradshaw owned it. He did great against the 49ers defense.
Yeah, Bradshaw killed it.
Yeah, and Bradshaw is...
Which I wasn't really too high on. I told my wife to put in Knicks over Bradshaw.
And that didn't work out because Knicks only
Well, no,
has
she didn't. She didn't listen to me. So
Oh, that was smart of her.
I know that was. I think she knew what she was doing. She's
Yeah.
like, yeah, whatever. I'll go ahead and do that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are always
glad
like...
she
they
either
don't know
didn't
what,
listen or
yeah.
didn't do it.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people don't know what to do with Bradshaw because he's so like he gets hurt a lot and stuff. But yeah, he looked great, and Ballard definitely didn't. And that's the thing is, we were telling people it's like Ballard is only going to be in a couple weeks. Like Donald Brown's injury is one of the least significant injuries so far in comparison to a lot of the other guys. Like I said, you should pick up maybe Green.
Alex Green. Which how did he do?
He did okay. He didn't do great, but the Texans have a pretty good D.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to be able to catch out of the backfield. And it looks like they went to him a lot more than they went to Starks. So I think he's going to be the starting back going forward.
Which someone asked me, straight up that question.
And
Which one do I play, Alex Green or Ballard? And I told him Green. So
yeah, and then
it's right there.
Yeah, and Ballard, he only had 25 yards rushing and 17 yards receiving. And maybe he does better next week, but he didn't look great. All right, and then my fourth disappointment of the week is LaShawn McCoy, who I don't know if you've listened to us before. Me and Eric rave about McCoy. Like I love the guy. I think he's awesome. I would pick him up if I got the chance almost every time.
Mm-hmm.
And he just had a really hard time against the Lions defense on Sunday. He only had 22 yards on 14 carries.
Wow.
But he did have 26 yards receiving on 7 catches, and he did have a touchdown, which helped him fantasy-wise. But so far this year, he hasn't had any of the games that you would expect him to have. Like he's the kind of guy you expect to have a few 25 and 30-point games, and he just isn't doing it so far. So he didn't have an awful day. He didn't have a Ballard day, but he should be doing a lot better.
Yeah, I loved him. He would score more points than my whole team combined last. I had an awful in our work league. I had the worst team ever, but I had McCoy, and
he's awesome.
He would score. There really was, I think, a point where he almost scored more points himself than the whole rest of my team combined. I think he did, actually.
And they didn't find...
It was like 30-something points, and the rest of my team were like 2s and 3s.
Oh, yeah, that's rough. But, yeah, they need to find ways to get him the ball. Reason. Because Vic is having a hard time, and Vic is still a phenomenon, how bad he can do and still get good fantasy points every single time.
Yeah.
But LaShawn McCoy just needs to do better. And I think he will, but I just figured I'd throw him in there because he was a disappointment to me. And my fifth disappointment of the week is the Steelers' running attack against the worst team and the worst defense in the league. Like, they ran 22 times for 56 yards, and they just looked awful. But they did lose 4 linemen and their 2 main running backs in this game. And from what I've heard so far, I don't think Mendenhall's injury is too significant.
I actually didn't look that up.
But
I should have. I had him.
Yeah, but
I cried about him for like 3 days.
Yeah, everyone thought Mendenhall was going to have a 30-point game, and then he gets hurt right away. But the thing with it is 4 linemen, 2 main running backs. with that many injuries, it's hard to say who's going to come back right away. And they've had tons of line injuries. So I don't know that the Steelers' running game is going to get going anytime soon. And the Steelers have had so many injury issues that it's hard to say what that team's going to do. But yeah, that's my fifth and final disappointment of the week. So now Eric, I think, is going to tell you who to look at on the waiver wire.
That's very true. Yeah, it looks like Mendenhall will be back. And then he tweeted something, which they took down. I don't know what it is. I'll look that up later. So it's time for our pickups, put downs, and watchovers. The pickups are who you should definitely pick up. Use a waiver wire pick on them if you have to. The put downs are the people that you should drop or trade. I will let you know which one. And watchovers are people that don't quite pick up yet unless you absolutely need them. But keep an eye on them because I have a feeling that they could start to step up. So our pickups, my number one, and this is a little bit higher than I usually go, with 70%, but it is Denarius Moore. If you have the chance, you should definitely try to get Denarius Moore. He's 70% owned. I thought he'd be maybe a little bit less, because he hasn't done a whole lot yet, but I definitely think that is who they are going to.
Yeah, and he looked
Oakland.
awesome. I threw him in 5 minutes before the game started. I'm like, Atlanta's going to score points, and the Raiders are going to score points too. And Denarius Moore, if you've watched him, he's an incredible talent. His only negative is he's a bit fragile. Like, he gets hurt a bit every now and again. But if he stays healthy, like, that dude he's going to have games like this all the time.
Yeah.
100-yard games because he makes
He looked
big
good
plays
last year when
and
they-
a touchdown pretty regularly.
So if you, he's like I said, this is one that you might want to use a pick on, because I do think he's legitimate. My second one is Stephen Hill. He's 16% owned, New York Jets. I think he is the guy. This is kind of my philosophy, my theory here, but I think that if he hadn't got injured, I think he would be the guy. I mean, they have to have someone there. And so if you're in a deep league, he's 16% owned. I think he'll be one of the first pickups, but he looked good before the injury. Got injured and looks good again. So I think, and don't confuse him with Jason Hill, because they have two Hills on the team. Jason Hill, he did okay as well. I think he ended up scoring a touchdown as well, which is really confusing because they didn't have an S or a J on the jersey. But so Stephen Hill, 16%. My number 3 is Brandon Gibson with 20%. I think same thing. Amendola went down. I think they need someone to throw to, and he
had a catch.
Holy cow!
Was
It was on
insane.
Sports Center. It was like number 3 or 4. He one-handed. Yeah, it was ridiculous.
It was like just leaned all the way back.
Fell back.
It.
Yeah, it was. And so I think you can count on him to get you.
I think even
fantasy
after
points.
Amendola comes back, like, they're just getting into a rhythm. So I think Gibson will still be a value even after Amendola comes back. So he's one of the main guys. Like I agree with you. He's a good pickup. And he's kind of in the middle. There's better people, but he's definitely coming along.
Yeah. My number 4 is Brandon Whedon, 12% owned. If you need for a bye week coming up, Whedon is the guy. I think there's all these other guys out there, which I'll talk about in a minute. Don't trust any of them. Brandon Whedon right now is the only guy that I really trust that you can pick up on the waiver wire in even a deeper league and hopefully play him and actually get some points. 12% owned. And my number 5, like Sean said, Josh Gordon. If Whedon is legit, I think Gordon is also legitimate as well. So he's 11% owned. My put downs, my number 1 is Sean Green with 80%. It's kind of like what we talked about with Chris Johnson. If he has this good game, trade them.
Yeah,
because
trade
now
high.
you have the chance to get rid of this guy that, and he had the type of game that you can. Those type of games people will look at and be like, oh my gosh, they'll go check and look and be like, 34 points? Oh my gosh, and people want him now.
So trade him if
you
you
have
can.
the opportunity now to trade him and get someone like a Doug Martin or a LaShore.
Yeah, you may
Maybe-
even be able to get bigger names. Like, some people get down
Bradshaw.
on people for no reason.
Bradshaw had a good game.
Yeah.
But I would definitely... My number 2 is Chris Johnson. This is the last time I'm going to talk about him. I'm not going to put him in here anymore, but he also had a decent game. The only reason I put him in here is because he also had a decent game. People were like, oh, I didn't start Chris Johnson. He got me 12 points. But it's another one where if you have him... This is the last time I'm going to talk about him, and then I won't put him in here anymore. 96% owned. Get rid of both of these guys. They're just not... They're not fun to have on your team. It's not. Don't do it.
Yeah, and the thing with that is a lot of people are down on like McFadden right now. Murray hasn't had a great
McFadden,
season,
yeah.
and McFadden has some easier games coming up. Like expect McFadden to bounce back.
Either of these guys, trade Green or Johnson for McFadden immediately.
If you can get that, which a lot of people will know that he has an easy stretch coming up, but he hasn't looked great yet this season. But I'm a
That's a
Raiders
good
guy,
one.
and I did watch that game pretty closely, and he looked good out there. He looked like he just wasn't getting as many blocks as he should get, and he was still running hard though. He hasn't got injured yet, and yeah, he just looked good. And then Murray isn't going to be out a long time, but people will be looking to trade, especially if they don't have anyone else. So take advantage of someone like that. Like
Sean Green,
that's what
now
fantasy's
this is the
about.
perfect time.
Yeah.
My 3 and 4 are Alex Smith and Fitzpatrick. Alex Smith is 61% owned. Fitzpatrick is 53%. And my main thing with these two is if they're against even a slightly good defense, you just cannot trust either of them. I put Alex Smith in. Ponder was in here, and then he ended up actually giving Sean points, which
Yeah, he had almost as many points as Brady had. And Ponder
He was at like
looks
5
good.
points in the fourth quarter, right there with Alex Smith, because I had the chance to get either of them. And
I played Ponder over
Smith.
Romo, and he got more points than Romo. So I don't expect that every week, but play him with the matchups. Play him when you have a bye. I think he's a good guy.
And that's the thing with both of these people is if they're against a good defense at all and your bye comes up, don't even pretend.
Yeah, and if you have one of those two, Alex Smith or Fitzpatrick, especially Alex Smith, and you're just kind of have him as a bye, take a chance on Colin Kaepernick, because if Alex Smith keeps playing like this, Harbaugh is not. He loves to be that nice coach and stuff, but he's not gonna keep Smith in. And Kaepernick, and also Smith could get hurt, and if he does, Kaepernick has looked good out there.
And they've been giving
he actually was in
Kaepernick,
at the end of the game,
like actual touchdown runs and stuff. They've been playing him kind of like
and he threw a deep
Tebow-ish,
ball
kind
on.
of.
Yeah, and he'll be a better Tebow because he can throw a ball. Like
Yeah,
I
he's a
watched him throw like a
legitimate
40-yard pass that was right there in between two guys. It wasn't caught, but that wasn't his fault. It was right where it needed to be.
But they're giving like wildcat stuff.
Yeah, and he's looked good. So I would definitely take a chance on him if you have the space on your roster. Just because Alex Smith isn't, I don't think Harbaugh. Basically, I don't think Harbaugh's going to ruin his season if Alex Smith keeps not producing. And we've seen what guys who can run around in the pocket, which Alex Smith can kind of do, but not like Kaepernick. What they can do to help a team.
Seahawks, I don't know. I don't know if I'd really trust.
I wouldn't
either
trust
of
anyone
them.
against the Seahawks necessarily.
But it does bring up a good point with Kaepernick. I don't know if I'd trust him yet, but it is quite interesting. I like it.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, Harbaugh keeps saying that Alex Smith is the guy, but everyone says that. They're not going to say 3 weeks, but like usually there's a time frame in mind. Like if they lose 2 more games, I think they're gonna start going to some other place, which will be Kaepernick, because they have talent on the team, and Alex Smith is a good game manager. But if they need more than that, I think he'll make the trade. So.
Yeah, Kaepernick got almost 10 points on week 5.
Yeah, and that's the thing too is if you have
And 11
a
points on week
flex
4.
where you can play a quarterback in your
If you're
flex,
in a deep league and you have that,
don't be
then
afraid to pick him up. Like there's been tons of injuries out there, so you might be looking for someone, and they are giving him more and more run. So I wouldn't. He's not afraid to get out there and make a big play. And that's the thing is a backup quarterback like that. If he gets a chance, he's going to go balls out because he doesn't know when he's going to get on the field again. So
Yeah.
good. He's a good pickup.
Nice, I like it. And my number 5 is the Philadelphia defense, 73% owned, which is pretty high. And I think you can go ahead and find a lot of better defenses at this point. 73% is really high. My watchovers, Chris Givens is my first one. He's 3% owned. Like I said, if Brandon Gibson on the Rams is the number 1 guy, I think Givens is the number 2. He's looked pretty good. Definitely keep an eye on him. He might be someone you want to pick up. Doug Baldwin is my number 2 with 7%. And he has these good games. He had some good games last year. He had a good game yesterday. So keep an eye on him because he actually could be someone in Seattle that could do pretty well.
Yeah, and he's a talent. Yeah.
Yeah. He really is. He's really good too, which is why I also think you should do that. My number 3 is Ryan Tannehill, which I think he should be higher. Actually, I should have probably put him in my pickups.
I would say you're right. I think Whedon a little bit before Tannehill.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you did it right.
I still maybe should have put him up there, but he's 9% owned.
RT1.
That's what Sean says every week. I love it. But yeah, he's looked really good. I think he may actually make Miami an actual legitimate team. Not good, but
And for the first time in a while, almost everyone in that division looks like they have a chance because the Patriots are only 500. They're 3-3. So, yeah.
So yeah, pick him up or keep an eye on him. My number 4 is Mike Goodson, 5% owned, and like we talked about, McFadden's been hasn't been doing that well, and they've been giving Goodson.
And Goodson's looked good.
And he's looked good when
And
they've
I
been
don't know
giving
why,
him the
but
ball.
they-
They've been
when-
giving a lot of carries.
Yeah, whenever Goodson's in on a screenplay, it gets broken for. And I think a lot of it is people are like, McFadden's in, we focus on McFadden. McFadden's out, maybe they'll go to Goodson. And so I think that helps him a lot. But he's been getting, like Eric's saying, he's been getting decent amount of carries, and he's been in on there on those little screen passes that have been. He's had 3 or 4 of them this year. One of them was broke for like 80 yards and a touchdown. So good guy to look at.
Yeah, I don't think I'd pick him up yet, but I'd definitely look at him. And my number 5 is David Wilson. He's 26% owned. I just really like him. I don't know what it is. They've definitely been giving him the ball with Andre Brown out. And so I'm not promising anything with David Wilson, but I just really like the guy. I hope he does well.
So if you want to pick up a guy that, if you want to watch over a guy that Eric really likes, likes his personality, likes how he looks out there in a football uniform.
I feel bad that he fumbled too. I
Yeah,
feel bad for him.
he's
Show
doing
him some
better.
love.
Yeah, and he's
26% is actually pretty high. So
yeah, and he's been doing better. And I think he's going to end up being the number 2 guy there.
Yeah,
Like
I
it sucks
do
for
too.
Andre Brown because Andre Brown looked good too, but I think Wilson's more of a different back than Bradshaw, and Andre Brown's kind of the same. So they like a change of pace there. All right, cool. Now we're going to move over to the top 5 fantasy leaders in each position, and I'm just going to kind of cruise through this. Number 1 is Aaron Rodgers, who had 39 points.
Gosh.
No, yeah, and
6 touchdowns.
Yeah, he killed it. And just a little nerd information, really quick. I'm going to try to hurry through this. I'm a big Madden guy, and Madden this year has a fantasy thing where you play a team, and if you win them, you get a in the ultimate team you get a card. And this week it was Arian Foster, and you can choose to switch to Arian Foster for Aaron Rodgers if you want to, and depending on who does better, and you get a certain amount of points per touchdown. And I traded for Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers killed it. So Mad Coin's coming to me in Madden. All right, now that I'm done being a nerd, number 2 was Robert Griffin III, who had 36 points. Number 3 was Josh Freeman, who had 24 points.
Josh Freeman.
Yeah, number 4 was Russell Wilson, who also had 24 points. And number 5 was Michael Vick, who also had 24 points. Like I said, Michael Vick had the worst game ever and had 24 points. I don't know how he does it.
I don't know how he does either.
Insane. And then moving over to the running backs, Sean Green was the number 1 running
There it
back,
is.
34 points. And number 2, the one positive thing from the Ravens, Ray Rice had 22 points. And it's about time. That's who they should be going to all the time. He's awesome. And then number 3 was Ahmad Bradshaw, like we've talked about, 18 points against the 49ers defense. I kind of thought he was maybe a try-to-trade high guy, and now I'm like, no way. Like, he is looking legit. So, Bradshaw, awesome. And this is the second week in a row in the top 5, so that's awesome.
Wow.
And number 4 was C.J. Spiller with 17 points. And it actually looks like they are deciding to kind of go away from Fred Jackson. Spiller looks like he's getting more of the work, and he looks like the better back out there. So
Fred Jackson had a pretty good game as well, though. I think he ended up with 13 or 14 points. So Spiller
Yeah.
did have more, but Fred Jackson actually had
Yeah.
a pretty decent game. It looks
yeah, he didn't have a bad game,
split.
but yeah, it
It's-
looks pretty split. But I think Spiller is the better option.
Yeah, it's going to kind of be weird to kind of see what happens. I'm still
yeah.
keeping Fred Jackson. I don't know if I'm playing him, but I'm keeping him on my bench just to see, but it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and then my number 5 back, like we talked about earlier, was Felix Jones, who had 16 points, and he could be looking to get that many points again if he. Like, 'cause I'm
Yeah,
assuming
especially with Murray out.
he would
which
get
I
the
didn't know
start with Murray out.
Yeah, I did this last night, and so now with Murray out, it looks like Felix Jones might be a guy to pick up as well.
Yeah, and then wide receivers, and this is another thing to go toward. I don't remember who it was last week that bounced back after we talked about how awful they'd been doing, but I'm pretty sure a lot of the NFL players watched the podcast because I talked last week about how awful Jordy Nelson has been doing, and then Jordy Nelson came back, number 1 receiver, 30 points, and it's about time. And then number 2, I think me and Eric talked about it a lot yesterday, and I think A.J. Green, 25 points. He may be the best receiver in the league right now. He looks insane, and I thought Hayden was going to bring him down, and he talked about it.
And we had conflicting...
He did for most of the game.
Which is weird, because we had conflicting things. I put him as a start, and you put him as a drop-off.
Yeah, and you were right about it.
And so it's one of those where it's like, oh my gosh, should I change that? Because we can have conflicting. We're two different people. We don't have to agree on everything.
And then my number 3 receiver was Dez Bryant with 21 points. This is his second decent game in a row, and I think it looks like he's back. Like Romo's looking for him, and if he can stay healthy, maybe he'll turn into the Dez Bryant that everyone thought he was going to be this whole time. And then my number 4 receiver, Wes Welker, also looks back, but it's not really a big surprise to anyone, I don't think. Jeremy Maclin looks to be like he's back from his injury.
Which is nice.
Also had 19 points.
We got some questions on him, and I pondered it. I sat and questioned, and then came back and said, start Maclin. Like, I love the guy, and so it's nice to see that he did, because I questioned myself. Because people, it was the same thing with the Ballard stuff. As people start saying it, I'm like, am I questioning what I'm thinking here? Because I feel like I shouldn't. And Maclin was one of those. I started questioning it, and I was like,
Macklin's too good.
And be like, no, Macklin's good. Play him.
Yeah, and moving over to the tight ends, a guy we've been talking about a lot, Kyle Rudolph, the number 1 receiver, 13 points, and like we've said this whole time, we said he was a sleeper, then we said pick him up, then we said pick him up, then we said pick him up, and it's paying off. He's looked great.
Which is crazy because there's been some tight ends that we also were kind of sort of high on that have dropped off. Pittis seemed to drop off, and Bennett has also really dropped off. So.
Yep. All right, and then the number 2 tight end was Jermaine Gresham, who started off slow this season, but he looks to be coming back. So if you can get him, he's a good pickup. He got 12 points. Number 3 was Tom Crabtree, who also got 12 points. I wouldn't look too far into that. I think Finley's still going to be their main guy. He just got a broken play. And then number 4 was Fasano with 9 points. And I think the Dolphins can use a good tight end, so hopefully he keeps that going. Number 5 is kind of a big deal because it was Aaron Hernandez who got 9 points. And this is his game back. No one knew if he was going to start. He didn't get a ton of yards, but he did get a touchdown. And I think they're going to use him. And I think, like I said in the beginning of the season, I think Gronk has not been Gronk this year.
No, he hasn't.
And Hernandez has got a touchdown 2 out of the 3 games he's played in, but he did get injured early in the second game that he played in. So I think Hernandez is a solid pickup.
Yeah, I did not think he was going to come back and do that. I did have my wife pick him up because he was sitting out there. And I had Gronk, so I didn't want to pick him up and have. Though maybe I should have, because then I would have had the option of either one.
That's too hard. You never want that. That's too painful. But
so I was happy that she got him.
Yeah, and then really quick, the kickers. Rob Baronis got 16 points. Jason Hatson got 16 points. Jay Feely got 14 points. Matt Bryant got 14 points. And Lawrence Tynes got 14 points. No big surprises there. And then the defenses.
Except there's no Zerline. There's no Legatron.
He had a tough game, but I think he's going to bounce back.
I hope so. I hope it's not too much in his head because
he had the distance on that 66-yard field goal at the end. He just didn't have it quite lined up. And I think Fisher, I'm loving what Fisher's doing there. But, all right, and then the top 5 defenses, number 1 was the Giants defense, who got 19 points.
It's the 49ers.
Yeah, and they just looked awesome. And then number 2 was the Browns defense, who looked great against the Bengals. The Falcons got 16 points, which is weird because the Raiders stayed up with. Oh, well, they got a pick 6, I guess, is why. But
3 interceptions, I think Palmer threw.
No, I think he only threw 1. It was Matt Ryan that threw.
Oh yeah, Matt Ryan was the one that threw 3.
Yeah, the Raiders defense,
and then he only threw
impressive.
that one at the very end, which was.
Yeah, which is rough.
Yeah,
well, let's not talk about that anymore. And the number 4 defense was the Redskins defense with 16 points, and then the Jets defense had 16 points again. Wow. And it is what it is. Defenses are hard to predict. So yeah, all right. And moving on really quick, in our in our messenger here on Justin TV, we had Kurtog ask about, let me see, it was about Malcolm Floyd. He still is listed as questionable, but they think he's going to play. I'll check again and see if anything's updated on that. But as far as it shows right now, he's kind of a game time decision. But let's see.
Kurtog also says that Legatron is going to get the yips and
All right,
be
it
off
says
the hole.
it actually has updated, and it says Floyd is listed as active for the game. So there you go. He is active.
And Legatron is not going to get the yips.
Yeah, Legatron is going to be better than
2 epic nicknames.
Megatron.
I thought Greg the Leg was an awesome nickname, and then Legatron comes out, and I'm like, you just upped it.
Yeah, it was awesome.
One-upped an awesome nickname. But yeah, we don't have a lot of questions today. We did want to tell everyone about our new poll that we put up. We're going to be putting up a new poll every week. Is that what you?
Yeah, we're going to do every week. And really quick, I'll just go over what the poll the last poll we had up was, who has been the most disappointing so far this season, or who have you been most disappointed by so far this season? And we actually had a tie between Calvin Johnson.
Was it Calvin Johnson or Chris Johnson?
Oh, I think it was.
It might have been.
Calvin
I
Johnson.
didn't check. So
because I think people were smart enough to know that Chris Johnson was Chris Johnson.
That's what I was kind of thinking. I put him as the picture, but
yeah, and then the second one that was in the tie was Steven Jackson,
which both of those had bounce back. I don't know if Steven Jackson's was a bounce back game. He got double digits.
And I think Steven Jackson
against a good run defense in Miami. So
yeah, I think he's gonna get healthy, and I think he's still gonna have a decent year. But they do play some tough defenses in their division, and they are looking like they're going to Richardson quite a bit. But I realistically think that'll help him. I think the mixing it up helps in that situation because Steven Jackson's kind of been their workhorse, and also their passing game's getting better. But I would say it's kind of switched after this week to Jackson still being the biggest disappointment because Calvin Johnson looked like Megatron again on Sunday. He did what him and Stafford do all the time last year, which they had tons of games where Stafford looked awful in the first half. Megatron looked like he wasn't getting any points, and at the end, it ended up with them both looking awesome because they came back and scored 14 points in the last quarter. So. And that's what they did against the Eagles, and the Eagles have a good defense. So maybe they're back on track. Who the hell knows with the Lions? But yeah, our new poll is, which of the 1-6 teams do you think is most likely to make it to the playoffs? And the 1-6 teams we have are the Carolina Panthers, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the New Orleans Saints, the Oakland Raiders, the Cleveland Browns, and the Kansas City Chiefs. So you can go on there and vote on that, and then
go Chiefs.
You can go Chiefs.
I'm gonna go straight up Chiefs.
Okay.
Can we bet money?
And now that maybe you can just send us money if you want, yeah.
I'm not going Chiefs.
But then the Chiefs and the Browns are the only two that haven't had a bye out of those 6. But the Browns have been so close in so many games, and they finally had a breakout game last game. If Richardson stays healthy, they're still not going to make the playoffs, I don't think. I just wanted to talk about that for a second. I think it's between the Saints and the Raiders. Raiders are in a bad division, and they looked great yesterday. Their defense looked good.
Panthers.
And the Saints are the Saints. I think they are the best team that's only won one game. So, and
Panthers.
Eric thinks the Panthers. I think he's just hoping that him picking up Cam Newton so early will pay off. But I am
going
to tell him every week, you picked up Cam Newton, he's terrible. But probably not in that voice.
I liked it. I wanted a running quarterback.
But we have some quick, sad news for y'all. It's 6:30. The game's getting ready to start, so we're going to have to bounce. But thanks for joining us.
I thought we were going to do like a 2 or 3 hour podcast.
No, you thought that. But then it looks like we got through all of our stuff.
Oh, yeah,
so
that's nice.
So it all worked out. But, yeah, thanks for joining us again. Remember, Fantasy Top 5, at Fantasy Top 5 is our Twitter.
Give us your questions. Come chat with us in the chat room. It's a blast.
Yeah, just type in Fantasy Top 5 anywhere, besides like maybe Word, and you'll find us. Yeah. I don't know. But, yeah, thanks for joining us.
To a typewriter. Typewriters don't. They're not computers.
Like, I couldn't find you. I typed it into my typewriter, and it just didn't come up. But, yeah, I'm Sean.
We'll be here Thursday. I'm Eric.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Peace.
Out.
man. Oh, it's too late.